A dramatic new chapter is unfolding in the wider Gulf Middle East crisis. According to multiple international reports, including an exclusive from the Wall Street Journal, the United Arab Emirates has crossed a threshold in the region's largest military confrontation in decades, conducting secret military strikes on Iranian territory in response to weeks of Iranian attacks on Emirati cities and strategic infrastructure. But what's once a conflict largely defined as a combined U.S.-Israeli campaign against Iran has now drawn in regional states as active combatants themselves. The UAE's reported involvement represents a significant escalation that many analysts believe could have lasting implications for the Gulf's geopolitical landscape. TheGuardian.com, the current war began on February 28, 26, when the United States, alongside coordinated Israeli airstrikes, launched an expansive campaign against Iran's military infrastructure in response to repeated provocations, including attacks on U.S. regional bases. Guardian.com, as the campaign unfolded, Iran expanded its retaliation, firing thousands of drones and ballistic missiles across the Gulf. Among the hardest hit was the UAE, particularly Abu Dhabi and Dubai, which endured numerous missile and drone strikes that targeted civilian and energy infrastructure. The UAE Ministry of Defense regularly reported intercepting large waves of those projectiles, underscoring the capacity of its advanced air defense systems and illustrating the intensity of Tehran's campaign. GulfTime.ae, throughout March and April 2026, the UAE faced relentless waves of Iranian attacks. Multiple official defense briefings confirmed continued engagements with incoming missiles and drones, with casualties among foreign nationals and some Emiratis. Sharjah24.a geography of the conflict meant that major commercial hubs like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, symbols of regional economic power, were increasingly browed into the front lines, challenging the UAE's long-standing posture of relative neutrality in Middle Eastern military struggles. Against this backdrop, diplomatic efforts sought to de-escalate the broader U.S.-Iran confrontation. A ceasefire was declared by U.S. President Donald Trump in early April 2026, temporarily halting direct U.S. strikes and opening a fragile pause for negotiations. Amid this tense ceasefire environment, the Wall Street Journal revealed that the UAE, frustrated by Iran's repeated attacks and concerned about its own security, secretly launched its own offensive against Iranian territory. Wowana.com, according to the report, the UAE's military conducted covert strikes on targets inside Iran, marking a move beyond defensive actions to direct offensive operations. TimesOfIsrael.com, one of the most significant attacks struck an oil refinery on Iran's Lavan Island in the Persian Gulf in early April, coinciding with the period Hen. The U.S. announced its ceasefire because the strike reportedly sparked a large fire at the oil facility and severely damaged its production capacity, although the UAE has not publicly taken responsibility for the operation. Reuters.com, this oil facility is strategically important to Iran, and the attack struck at both economic infrastructure and national pride, a calculated action that, by many accounts, was meant to signal that the UAE would not remain passive after sustaining thousands of attacks. TimesOfIsrael.com, U.S. officials have quietly welcomed the Emirati participation, according to Wall Street Journal sources, viewing Abu Dhabi's actions as aligned with broader efforts to contain Tehran's military capabilities. International.it, there has been no official confirmation from either the UAE government or the U.S. about these secret operations, and independent verification remains limited. Reuters noted it was unable to confirm the allegations at the time of reporting. Reuters.com. Still, the reports illustrate a shift in regional dynamics. Gulf Arab states are no longer solely defenders in this conflict, but are reportedly taking the initiative in offensive operations when deemed necessary. TimesOfIsrael.com, Iran's leadership has publicly condemned attacks on its territory, labeling them as hostile acts and retaliating accordingly. Following the Lavan Island strike, Iranian forces reportedly responded with more missile and drone assaults on the UAE and neighboring Kuwait. News.antiwar.com, these tit-for-tat escalations have underscored the volatility of the ceasefire and the challenge of restraining the conflict. In addition to direct military engagements, Iran has leveraged its strategic hold over the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial global energy choke point, to apply pressure on Gulf economies and global oil markets. Guardian.com, beyond the battlefield, the ripples of this conflict are being felt across international diplomacy. Economics. Global energy markets have reacted to instability in the Persian Gulf, with oil prices fluctuating as key export routes face disruption. The soon.co.uk diplomatic efforts to mediate have ramped up, with multiple outside powers calling for negotiations. However, stalled talks and diverging demands from Tehran and Washington continue to complicate peace efforts. Guardian.com, the reported involvement of regional actors like the UAE has raised questions about how the war could reshape alliances and security postures throughout the Middle East. Guardian.com, what began as a focused U.S.-Israeli operation, has transformed into a broader regional confrontation, one in which Gulf states like the UAE are no longer merely strategic hosts for allied forces, but are themselves party to direct military actions with geopolitical stakes of their own. Guardian.com, the full implications of the UAE's covert strikes and Iran's subsequent responses remain unpredictable. What is clear, however, is that the contours of Middle Eastern security have shifted in ways that will likely reverberate far beyond the immediate battlefields of the Persian Gulf.